We are all good to go. So I want to welcome everybody today to the Herman Pro AV webinar. We're very excited today to have with us Bose Pro, and they are again talking today about their DesignMax Pendant speakers and loudspeakers. And we are going to hand it over to Dave Curran today for him to sort of bring us up to speed on what's happening with speakers at Bose.
Thanks a lot, Stacy. Hey, everybody, thanks for joining. Again, I'm Dave Curran, and I'm a distribution account manager here at Bose Pro. Joining me on the call, I think is John Brunner, but we'll have to see. I think he might be having some technical difficulties, so we'll start running without him at this point. Okay, so just a little bit about who we are. So Bose Corporation was established in 1964 by Dr. Amar Bose. And so it's a big, huge multi-billion-dollar company with a bunch of different divisions. And Bose Professional is a division within Bose Corporation. But we're dedicated to serving the needs of audio and AV professionals like you, whether it's in portable or installed audio, commercial sound, or really more recently in conferencing and workplace communication, which is a focus for us. And we're kind of a unique company in that we've been allowed to be innovators, particularly because of our association with MIT. MIT actually controls the majority share of Bose Corporation. Dr. Bose left it to MIT when he died. So that we would remain an independent company that could innovate. So that's just kind of an interesting fact about Bose. We're excited about the new pendants, but before we dive into the new pendants, it might be helpful to set some context with a review of our existing DesignMax line. So in 2019, we introduced the DesignMax line. It's really a line of in-ceiling and surface mount commercial loudspeakers that provide high-end audio and premium aesthetics and additional cool installation features. So the core of the line is made up of coaxial two-way loudspeakers, but it also includes problem solvers like our ultra compact model, some high output models with compression drivers and subwoofers. Really ideal for foreground and background audio, indoor and outdoor, and we've got multiple IP55 outdoor rated models. Something unique to these products is they feature what's called dispersion alignment. It's a proprietary Bose innovation for a consistent response throughout the listening area, as well as our quick hold installation features. So attractive minimal bezel grills with removable logos too, and consistent voicing across the entire line. Well, we knew when we introduced the line that we were going to be adding more models, that there were some gaps in the line. So commercial installations often have, ceiling structures that don't follow the typical design, and they don't allow for in-ceiling models to be installed. And a lot of times surface mount models just aren't preferred in these kind of installations. Well, that's why I'm happy to say that we've introduced our new DesignMax Pendant models. And here's a snapshot. So just a word on our nomenclature. So we're going to be referring to DesignMax throughout this presentation. I want you to understand the logic behind the model names. So the DM stands for DesignMax, and the number tells you the woofer size of the speaker. The next letter determines the type of speaker. So C for ceiling and S for surface. And then for one ceiling model, you'll find the letters LP, which stands for low profile backhand. So really, really low profile. On the three surface models, you'll see the letter E, which stands for environmental, or the weather resistant models. So those are the IP55 version. I'm going to take a more detailed look at this product line later in the presentation. And now with the addition of the pendants, we've added P for pendant. And here's a snapshot of the new DesignMax pendants with their associated names. So the pendant models feature 3-inch, 5-inch, and 6-inch coaxial, two-way full range models. So they all have our dispersion alignment systems, as well as a single 10-inch subwoofer model. As I mentioned, they're voiced to match the rest of the DesignMax line and feature a rotatable grille and removable logos. They're available in black or white in a sleek design and a design for a single point hang with a rear cavity to hide hardware and cabling from view. So I'll show you what that looks like. So the top of the cabinet is where all audio connections are made, as well as tap selection and suspension. A removable Euroblock connector is provided for signal wiring. Tap selection is accessible on the top of the cabinet, including a low impedance bypass selection. The primary suspension tab is on the center of gravity for a level hang. And a secondary suspension tab is provided for safety cable or secondary cable attachment if required locally or preferred by the installer. So if you need to add a second cable, there's an option. But let's take a close look at the individual models and their features. Here we see the 30-watt DM3P. It's a two-way loudspeaker featuring a 3.5-inch woofer, a 3/4-inch tweeter mounted within the dispersion alignment system. It's a 75 hertz to 20 kilohertz frequency range with a 130-degree coverage pattern and a max SPL of 99 decibels. Here's the 60-watt DM5P. It's a two-way loudspeaker featuring a 5.25-inch woofer and a 1-inch tweeter, also mounted within the dispersion alignment system. It's got a 65 hertz to 20 kilohertz frequency range, 120-degree coverage pattern, and a max SPL of 105 decibels. Now, both of the last two models were indoor only. This is the outdoor speaker. So it's the 125 watt DM6PE. It's the highest performing full range pendant model that we have. Also a two-way loudspeaker featuring a 6.5-inch woofer, a 1.25-inch tweeter, also mounted within the dispersion alignment system. It's got a frequency range of 62 hertz to 20 kilohertz, 115-degree coverage pattern, and a max SPL of 110 decibels. Again, this is the outdoor version, so it's IP55 rated. It includes a rust-proof zinc-coated steel grille and a weather-resistant input cover. I'll show you how that works. So for permanent installation outdoors, this would be the right speaker for you, the DM6PE. So the top of the cabinet is laid out a little differently so that the audio connections and the tap selector switch are protected with the included weather cover as seen here. We've got a sub too. So when needing to deliver rich low-end performance in a commercial installation, the 300 watt DM10P sub rounds out the DesignMax Pendant loudspeakers. So it features a 10-inch woofer and has a frequency range of 40 hertz to 125 hertz and a max SPL of 110 decibels.
Hey, Dave, we have a question.
Yeah.
Are the frequency specs plus or minus 10 or 3 decibels?
I'm actually not sure. I can double check for you before the end of this and let you know.
Okay, great.
Actually, I can jump in here. We publish both. So I'm not sure in terms of what we're showing online. I think what Dave shown is -10. But if you go online, you can grab our cut sheets and you'll see a published 3 and a published 10 as well.
Thanks a lot, John. And great question. So jumping on to a review of the dispersion alignment I've mentioned a few different times. The new DesignMax Pendants feature this innovation that we've created. The animation on the left shows a typical coaxial two-way system with a tweeter. So the yellow circles represent the natural dispersion of the woofer, while the blue circles represent the much wider dispersion of the tweeter. In a system like this, differences in natural dispersion will result in uneven response throughout the listening area, which impact the balance between high frequency and low frequency and can negatively impact clarity. But as shown on the right, our proprietary dispersion alignment system widens the response of the woofer to match the tweeter, resulting in the same coverage from each transducer, producing consistent response and clarity throughout the listening area. So John, I don't know if you want to comment on that.
Yeah, so I'll try and translate this into something real world. So basically, you typically have a woofer and a tweeter and a speaker, and if you hang it in the ceiling or place it on the wall, if you are directly on axis of that speaker, meaning standing directly under it or directly in front of it, you will hear a balanced response of the woofer and the tweeter. But if you get off axis, meaning like if you have a speaker in the ceiling and you're 3 or 4 feet off axis, meaning off center of that speaker, then the alignment of the frequencies, the woofer and the tweeter can be off. Typically you would hear that as under the speaker, it sounds really bright and clear. And maybe if you get off axis, you hear more of just the mid-range and the bass. And so the dispersion alignment system its goal is to ensure whether you're on axis or off axis, you get a consistent frequency response wherever you are in the listening area. And so what that means is that you get, again, consistency throughout the space, whether you're directly under the speaker or away from the speaker. So a lot more value there in terms of clarity because the clarity is consistent anywhere in the space. The importance of that in commercial spaces is when you grab a table or if you're standing in line or just wherever you are, you never position yourself under the speaker. You're just always in some area of the coverage. And this simply ensures it's more consistent throughout the space. So hopefully that makes sense.
Excellent. Thanks a lot, John. Now let's look at how installation works and some of the accessories that we've added to support the pendants. So each pendant ships with a 15-foot gripple cable, and installation is fairly straightforward. The cable's looped around supporting structure and the length is set with the gripping mechanism. The cable clip at the end is then attached to the pendant. A second gripple cable can then be connected to the secondary suspension tab as an optional safety cable. But it might be better to just watch how easy the pendants are to install. So I'll give this video a shot, see how it goes. Simply loop the cable. Connect the Euro clip. And in addition to the included cable, we have some optional accessories for alternate installation methods, including a conduit adapter and a threaded rod adapter.
A quick question, does Bose sell the gripple cable as an accessory SKU, or is it part of the package?
It comes with a cable, but we have an extra cable kit that comes with 2 additional cables. I'll show you that in 1 second. We have a conduit adapter designed for suspension with a 3/4 inch conduit, down pipe or down rod ceiling fan hardware. So it allows the signal cable to be hidden inside the tube and can be used outdoors, and these ship in pairs. We've got a threaded rod adapter designed for suspension from a 3/8 inch threaded rod hardware. These can be used outdoors. They also ship in pairs. We have an accessory 2-pack of Gripple cable. So since the speakers ship in pairs, you're going to get a cable with each speaker in the box. But if you want to add additional cables, or if you need additional cables, this 2-pack is available as an accessory.
Yeah, there may be a question of why would you want to buy an additional cable, and that in some cases, code requires that you have a mounting cable or suspension cable, and then also a safety cable. They have to be separate from each other. So if that's the case, you can buy that extra cable to go along with that.
So again, we're excited about these speakers. We do feel like it's the right time. We're also excited that we have some inventory. So these pendants are an excellent addition to the DesignMax line. They've got consistent voicing with the rest of the DesignMax line. They've got rotatable grills with removable logos, single point suspension with the, as John mentioned, a secondary safety tab for additional safety cable, a rear cavity that hides hardware and cabling, and a sleek design available in black or white in there, or they're easily paintable if necessary.
Yeah, Dave, if I can jump in here with a few points. So why should you care that we have these? And I think the simple answer is that the estimates I've seen is somewhere between 20 and 30% of distributed audio installations are using pendant speakers. So it's a pretty significant segment of the market, and we have been in transition from old pendants to these for over a year. So now this gives you the ability to talk to someone who's needing pendants and offer them a Bose solution. The secondary part of this, the voice matching, and just to be clear about that, sometimes you'll have a restaurant that will have pendants in the dining area, but in the entryway, you might have a surface or in-ceiling speaker. And all of the DesignMax speakers are voice matched. So whether it is a surface, a ceiling, or a pendant, it's going to sound consistent or exactly the same in that space. So you don't walk in the entry, which might have in ceiling, sounds kind of one way, and then you walk into the dining area and realize, oh gosh, that sounds kind of different, or the tone's changed. That will not happen here because they're voice matched. So that's another nice feature that you can use the DesignMax line in multiple installation forms and get the same performance out of all those speakers.
Great point, John. So let's take a look at the entire DesignMax line with the pendants included. We start with the core of the DesignMax line, so our 3-inch, 5-inch, and 6-inch coaxial 2-ways. These are available in all 3 form factors: in ceiling, surface mount, and pendant, and feature our proprietary dispersion alignment system. This is also where we find our IP55 outdoor rated models. The line also features subwoofers in each form factor. Then we have problem solvers like our ultra compact DM2C LP, designed for limited ceiling clearance, as well as a very small visual footprint. Additionally, we have high output 2-way coaxial models with compression drivers for maximum output. When put together, DesignMax represents a complete loudspeaker assortment to enhance any space. So we're pretty excited about the addition of these speakers. Like John said, the consistent voicing helps make the installation super simple.
Yeah, and Dave, I would add, when you look at that center block there of the 3 speakers, you basically can see this a couple different ways, which might help you as you're selling it. So you have small, medium, and large, and the way that that might translate is economically. Somebody might say, hey, you know, I'm looking for some Bose speakers, but I'm on a budget. And in that case, you'd be looking at the small part of the line, either surface flush or pendant, which is the most economical. And then medium and large would be medium price or, you know, premium price. You can also look at that in terms of output. So the smallest one is for background music. The middle one would be for moderate to light foreground, and the large one would be for foreground in terms of output. And that's also tracks consistently with performance. So obviously the best performance is the largest speaker, you know, most foreground output, and then there's the mid-range and then the small. So it's actually pretty easy. When you look at it that way, it can be driven by economy, it can be driven by output, it can be driven by performance. But the reality is you have 3 simple steps there. And then on either side of that, you've got the ultra low profile for, you know, tight installations and ceiling, or the performance DM8s or subwoofers to add bass to the system. So hopefully that makes it easy to internalize this and kind of give you some direction of how to sell it.
That's great. Thanks, Sean. And again, we've got right now the DM3s and the DM5, so the DM3P and the DM5P are in stock and shipping today. The DM6 and the DM10 will be shipping shortly. We don't have an exact date yet, but coming soon. So we're hoping to run through our amplifier line real quick too, in particular the PowerSpace series, because we think it fits really well with a lot of the quick turn applications that you're going to see. So we now have 4 classes of amplifiers. What you might consider low power being the FreeSpace series, the adaptable power amplifiers in our PowerShare series, our high power smart amplifiers being the PowerMatch series, and we now added the PowerSpace amplifier line. Here's a summary of the Bose Pro amplifier family shown by total power and channel count. So the FreeSpace family has 1 and 2 channel amplifiers with and without integrated loudspeaker processing from 90 watts to 240 watts. PowerShare has 2 and 4 channel adaptable power amplifiers, all with intelligent loudspeaker processing from 400 watts to 600 watts. PowerSpace has 2 and 4 channel amplifiers with and without DSP. And this is what kind of makes these amplifiers different, from 600 watts to 2 kilowatts. And PowerMatch has 4 and 8 channel configurable amplifiers, also with intelligent loudspeaker processing from 1 kilowatt to 4 kilowatts. Today we're going to focus on the PowerSpace amplifier designed for commercial sound installations. There are 2 and 4 channel models where each amp output independently supports low Z or high Z operation up to 100 volts. They come in 5 different models. 3 models without advanced processing are ideal for zone expansion. And the other 2 models combine power and DSP into a 1RU 4-channel design, really for quick turn installations. For the remainder of this presentation, I'll differentiate between the 2 groups by referring to the amplifiers lacking processing as PowerSpace standard, and amplifiers with processing will be referred to as PowerSpace Plus. Again, the model names are designed to help you remember channel count, available wattage per channel, and feature set. So the P stands for PowerSpace. The first digit in the number set represents the output channel count. And the remaining digits then represent the available power per channel In the case of the P2600A, there are 2 channels, each capable of delivering 600 watts of power. And finally, the last character in the model name represents the included feature set. So 3 models support Bose AmpLink as indicated with the character A. This provides a simplified multi-channel digital audio connection to compatible Bose AmpLink devices. And 2 models feature integrated loudspeaker processing for quick turn installations, and this is indicated with the plus symbol. A quick look at the rear panels of our PowerSpace standard models reveals they're nearly identical. The only differences are the number of input and output channels, as well as the number of dip switches available for configuration. Let's take a closer look at the P21000A. This is a 2-channel amplifier with 1,000 watts per channel. The PowerSpace standard amplifiers are designed to be fully configured from the back panel via basic switch options without the use of a computer. The input connections include line level inputs for balanced analog audio signals, as well as AmpLink ports for digital audio connections with compatible Bose DSPs, such as the CSP, ESP, and EX series. The complete configuration of the amplifier is done via the dip switches, input selection, and slide switch. This allows setup of input gain, auto standby, output configuration, and whether the analog or digital inputs are being used. Also, they include an output terminal block, which can be configured for 8 ohm, 70 volt, or 100 volt, and can be bridged with the current share option for powering larger 70, 100 volt zones, or subwoofers with 2 to 4 ohm loads. The mute Euro block is typically used to connect to fire panels, and when engaged will mute all outputs. Finally, output attenuation controls are available for each output. Next, let's take a quick look at the PowerSpace Plus models. These each include 4 channels and have identical rear panels. We'll look at the P4300 Plus model, which provides 4 channels with 300 watts per channel and a built-in DSP. The input connections for PowerSpace Plus amplifiers consist of 4 channels, each capable of supporting balanced line level audio signals. Inputs 1 and 2 can also support unbalanced signals. The stereo RCA inputs are each summed to mono. Input 4 also supports paging applications via either telephone paging input, a dynamic microphone that can be activated with a push-to-talk switch, or by voice. Similar to the standard PowerSpace amplifiers, the PowerSpace Plus amplifiers include an output terminal block, which can be configured for 8 ohm, 70 volts, or 100 volt, and can be bridged with the current share option for powering larger 70 to 100 volt zones or subwoofers with 2 to 4 ohm loads. They also include the global mute connection and output attenuators. Additionally, you'll find a dedicated 600 ohm music on hold output for telephone systems and a line level auxiliary output. Finally, 2 RJ45 connections can be found on PowerSpace Plus amplifiers. And the control center port is used for control center analog zone controllers. And the Ethernet port is used to connect the amplifier to a network switch or laptop and access its configuration utility. As you can see, the web interface provides a very simplistic user interface, which walks the installer through the system setup. Through the web interface, we can create zones, route signals, and configure remotes. This also allows installers and integrators to easily configure the amplifier with a web browser in the field without having to worry about which software is installed on their computer. So this is on the actual amplifier. So this kind of makes this product unique. I know it's a pretty basic, it's got its limitations, but for quick turn applications, it's definitely worth considering. With the use of the control center zone controllers, each PowerSpace Plus amp can control up to 4 independent zones. The CC1 provides volume control, the CC2 provides volume control and AV source selection, and the CC3 provides volume control and ABCD source selection. Each controller fits into a 1-gang electrical box with a Decor style cover and uses a standard Cat5 cable. Each CC1 volume controller can be simply configured from its dip switches to control 1 to 4 outputs, which allows for stereo control and bi-amping. Up to 4 CC1 and 2 CC2 controllers can be connected to a single PowerSpace Plus amplifier. They can be daisy chained as shown here. Or if daisy chaining controls is not an option, then a CV41 can be used to create a single home run from the controllers to the amplifier. Here's a look at a 3-zone commercial application utilizing the P4300 Plus with a bridged output for up to 600 watts for the larger zone on the main floor and single 300-watt channels in each of the other 2 zones. The PowerSpace Plus amp supports multiple sources, the music on hold output, page input, and multiple remotes, as well as a discrete EQ for each output. And the amp can be muted by a fire alarm panel in case of an emergency. So let's wrap up with a quick review of where to go for information and support. The Bose Professional website, you'll find the latest product information, software and support document downloads, and field sales contact information. The next 2 resource sources can be found on pro.bose.com. So the Bose Professional Global Education site is where you'll be able to access training and education tools, really to accommodate different individual learning styles. We offer short on-demand tutorials as well as complete certifications. Several of our certifications offer Avixa renewal credits, or if you prefer instructor-led learning, we've got schedules and there's a catalog there. Additionally, the Bose Music System Designer is an online tool to aid in the design of distributed loudspeaker systems. So it's an online tool where you can go in and enter room size, ceiling height, SPL, coverage criteria, and it'll print out a recommended bill of materials for you and even a layout style if you like to get a little extra assistance with that.
All right. Well, I want to thanks Dave and John for jumping on here. I'm going to give us a couple of minutes. If you have a question that you would like to ask these gentlemen, please feel free to either raise your hand and we'll try and get you off mute, or you can enter it in the Q&A box down at the bottom of your screens. I want to remind everyone that these products are available at Herman Pro AV, and you simply need to reach out to your sales representative. If you do not have a sales rep, you can call 888-736-6888. And I do want to let you know that we will be following up with a survey asking your thoughts on the webinar. And we appreciate you all being here. This has been recorded, and we will make it available to you in about 24 to 48 hours on our Herman blog site, and that's hermanproav.com/blog. and you're more than welcome to rewatch this or review it for any content. So I do have a question here. It says it might have been stated before, is the FS2P still available?
It is. Yep. The free space pendant is still available. This is just the addition to the DesignMax line. We haven't heard of any potential additions to the FS line, but yes, the FS2P is still available.
You mentioned it briefly earlier, David, but do you want to talk about the availability of this product? Are you seeing any challenges for shipping or anything like that?
So it's a challenging time for a lot of products, but the truth is right now we have these. So we actually do have the 3 and the 5 in stock, ready to ship. And like I said, the 6, so the outdoor version and the subwoofer are coming. They're not too far behind. But today, Herman does have or can get the DM3P and the DM5P.
All right. Well, I'm not seeing any other questions for you today, so we appreciate you participating, everyone, and we look forward to seeing you again on another Herman webinar.
Thanks, Stacy.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody.